So here is a video that might make many of us go, holy hell, people are stupid. Now, I'm sure many of us already knew that, but it is that much funnier when it's confirmed by people who disagree with us. Good times. So, Bill Maher was on Jimmy Kimmel's show, two miserable wankers who, if it wasn't for the trained monkeys that populate their audience, might one day realize they aren't funny. Two people who obviously I don't watch. I was too busy making an anti-COVID cocktail comprised of manuka honey, ivermectin, and pain thinner. Speaking of COVID medication, am I the only one that finds it hilarious that there's a drug called Regeneron? It sounds like a fuel that powers Robocop. But anyway, back to the two unfunnies. So Bill Maher cites a poll conducted by the New York Times, that bastion of conservatism in the United States. I'm being facetious, by the way, asking people, what are the chances of you being hospitalized should you catch COVID? Now, the result is unsurprising. The numbers, on the other hand, are shocking. Now, right off the bat, if you're like me and you're slightly autistic for numbers, you might notice the single-digit figures on the right-hand side do not add up to a rounded-off figure of 10, it's 11. So in all three, each section adds up to 101%. Well done to whoever did the math.
Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do. No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
God bless Norm. That joke will never not be funny. Outstanding comedian. But look at those numbers. More than 2.5 times of the Republicans got it right on the factual information about COVID than compared to the Democrats. At least the largest percentage of Republicans actually got the right answer. But look at the over 20% figures. Nearly 70% of surveyed Democrats got it wrong, compared to 51% of the Republicans. Now that is pretty high on both sides, admittedly, but that's still a near 20% difference. Most Democrats surveyed, a whopping 41% of them, think your chance of going to hospital if you catch COVID is more than 50%. That is the highest percentage of any group. Now, to put this into an even more wide-eyed holy shit context, realize these numbers are after more than 18 months of COVID. After more than 18 months, this is how clueless people still are. Now, by the looks of it, this is a side that follows the science off a fucking cliff. How do you have any credibility as a group who calls themselves the smarter ones when your influence is clearly ass backwards? Well done, liberal media. You are making your people stupider and more paranoid. Why the fuck are people listening to you? But you guys have to understand, this is also largely based on an ever-increasingly outdated business model, because the legacy media's desperate attempt to compete with new tech is through sensationalism in the form of fear. Stop being paranoid, you will be fine. That doesn't sell well. But scary-ass big percentages, that does sell well. And they don't give a fuck about what it does to the country, just as long as they have eyeballs glued to their stupid stories. Reminds me of the Mark Twain quote, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. That quote is over a century old, and it still holds true to this day. That should be a red flag for our society. That bit right there I would also beat into every idiot who thinks access to information and opportunity means people will avail of it, which is very evidently, clearly not the case. It's the critical analysis of information that leads people to become smarter, not the information in and of itself, but I'm slightly veering off topic here. Squid, let me go off the script for a second and ramble off the cuff, because here is what bothers me the most about these numbers, in a way that is fascinating as well as worryingly baffling. If someone came to me and said there is a quote-unquote deadly virus going around, my immediate response would be, how deadly? If the answer is less than 0.02%, I'd frown and say, that's deadly? And then just walk off, thinking they're hyperbolic fear peddlers. The fact that these numbers are so high tells me that this is not how most people would look at such a scenario, and that is incredibly disturbing to me, because in my mind, My reply is literally the most obvious reply of any human that shows any semblance of basic cognitive function. I could think of other questions, sure, but this is the one that takes precedence. But getting back to Bill, I love his reply mainly because it shows I'm right about everything. Which is not difficult, by the way. Once you spot the incentive, it's a simple matter of, oh, there it is. I said a while back, people are by default, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and they will only engage in politics when it affects them personally. And yesterday, I said that Bill Maher, first and foremost, cares about Bill Maher's reputation and Bill Maher's money. And the reason he is complaining about this is because he can't play comedy gigs in blue states, but the red states are business as usual. Now, where would a Republican-bashing, heavily blue Democrat-leaning person play most of their shows? Where does most of these seal-clapping lemmings that comprise the bulk of his audience reside, I wonder? Oh yeah, in those blue states. Now that it's affecting his shows, and because it's his side doing the dumbassery around COVID, and he has a bit of pull with his side of the political aisle, now he's going to try and point some things out. Do you think if the situation with the states were reversed, he'd say a damn word? Would he fuck? No, he would mock them in a cheap bid for being anti-science. So bollocks to him. And that's all for today. Until next time.